rounded edges. You look like, right now, because the window behind you, you look like one of those people that wants to remain anonymous on like a news show.
You can only see my silhouette.
Yeah, I don't think I can trust you right now if I can't see your face.
Yeah, well, I'm currently at the edge of my bed because this stupid microphone stand kept like drooping down and down and down. So now it's just all the way down at like 180-degree angle.
Dude, that's happened to me at like live shows, and it's
oh god,
one of the most frustrating things possible.
Ugh.
Having the mic just constantly sagging, and I forgot what show specifically, but I almost did that douchebag asshole rock star move of kicking the fucking microphone stand because I was so fucking tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, don't do that. Never do that because it's disrespectful, but it does suck. It's so frustrating, and like
if you can't guarantee that the microphone's going to stay in place for my entire fucking show, then this place isn't worth having a show at.
Wow.
A mic stand costs $20 to replace. You know what I mean? Like for a venue, that's unacceptable.
Well,
I'm going to name names if we keep talking about this shit.
Well, let's not do that.
I'm about to put people on blast.
Most of those names would probably be defunct by now anyway.
God, I almost said I hope so, but you're probably right. I don't hope so. That's fucked up.
Dude, there would be times when my kick drum would kind of edge forward every time I kicked it. And that is the worst.
That's infuriating.
Because it looks so cool. It's really hard to like focus on the music. So it looks really cool seeing a drummer like kind of crouch, like lowering in their chair so they can still reach the kick pedal, and it's like
you just look like you're lounging.
it's just so
you're like
chill.
kicking your feet up.
I don't want to distract from the other members of the band. Like y'all do stuff too. I think,
I mean, arguably we don't.
But
there was a while there where I was like, I need to put on a show, man. I need to headbang and run around and do everything. And then I'll watch other people play and I'll see that they're just like chilling and just playing and kind of like focusing on their job. And I don't know why I put so much pressure on myself to like be the energy of the band when it's like it's like, to me, it's weird that we're playing punk music and I'm kind of standing still.
Sure.
But we're playing metal music and I'm standing still. And then a bunch of other people are just like, nah, dude, I'm just going to be looking at my guitar for the next 45 minutes and just like swaying back and forth. I'm like, I could have done that.
I mean,
these people are clapping just as loud for you as they were for my fucking fake ass headbanging.
There's a point where, people may or may not care, and like, it is good to have, you can't look like you're bored, obviously. Like when you sing and when you play, like you look like you're involved in the music and you're passionate about what you're doing. Right. So you don't need to do all this extra stuff. But
and I thought I did.
It'll get to a point where it's like, hey man, do you even want to be up there?
Exactly.
And
a lot of times I don't. So it's also like, trying to make it look like I want to be up there, but I don't. And it's, yeah.
Well, in any case, talking about our little desert rock, our little stoner band. Let's talk about this dang album.
Oh, this dang album?
Yeah, I think this dang album. As opposed to another dang album.
Fine, if you want to. I just was hoping to just catch up and whisper sweet nothings into each other's ears.
I mean, we usually save that for after the episode.
Yeah, we always have to edit that part out.
Yeah.
It gets a little too lovey-dovey.
And usually it happens right before we go to bed. It's the only way I can fall asleep, usually.
Yeah, if you just listen to this voice.
So it goes pretty long. Oh, I'm getting snoozy already.
Don't get sleepy. Sorry, bro. Sorry. Energy.
Wake up.
Headbang for a little bit.
All right.
Headbang yourself awake.
Yeah. All right. Just. It's not the same.
You got to bring the energy. What the fuck are we talking about today, Brett?
Lucas, we are talking about an album, and that album's going to be by a band. And that album is called Circle of Demons, and that band is called At All Cost Singular.
Whoa. Yeah. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Because the first time you told me the band's name 3 times, and each time I was like, well, surely they must be at all costs. Because that's like how the saying goes. At all costs, Circle of Demons. It's the first time I've ever heard this album, and you're the one that brought it up. You say you've been listening to it for a while.
Yeah, first time you ever heard of the band?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're very well known. I mean, because they're pretty much local to Austin. I don't know how big they got.
Yeah, from all the YouTube videos I've seen, they played a lot of local places way back in the day. I've seen videos from Emos and Safe House, which was a year ago.
Yeah, that Safe House video is unfortunate. I was so excited when you sent that to me. Just the sound quality, it's so bad.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard getting all that stream stuff. That's why Burn Band stopped doing streams, because it's just so hard to get a good sound on that. You know?
Yeah, I feel like you would have to do direct in on everything for it to sound decent. And if you're literally picking up what you'd be hearing if you were in the crowd, like on a camera microphone, there's no chance of that sounding good.
Yeah.
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 This was yeah. Yeah.
But this album did not come out a year ago. It came out in 2007, I believe.
Yeah, almost 14 years ago.
And
Jesus fucking Christ.
There's an interesting thing that happened when Lucas first told me about the album. At the end of the last episode, I went and walked the dog and I listened to the entire album. And
was it the same record?
It wasn't. You remember it was...
I didn't think so.
It
was a really weird album cover. It was a totally different band.
No, it was the same band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the same band, same songs, different order. And I think there was slightly different production. Like some of the... I don't know. I only listened to it once. And then Lucas was like, whoa, no, this is the version that I'm listening to. I'm like, oh. And I tried to do research, like trying to find why there's this second version. Which one is the real one? Like maybe the one you're listening to is like a remaster or something, but I don't know. I couldn't find anything.
Do you remember what the first song on your version was? The first one that you listened to?
Circle of Demons.
It opened with Circle of Demons, even on your version that you found?
Yeah, but then Drugs was like the third song. It was in a very odd order.
Could it have been in alphabetical order?
You know what? Let me go ahead and look it up right now. We'll kind of get the differences between the two.
I already had a close connection to this band through a friend, which made me more open to this record. But I will say, Circle of Demons as a song and as an opener is really challenging.
No, for sure.
To get into.
Like, when you first announced this... When you first brought up this album, I kind of took a cursory listen to Circle of Demons, the first song, and I was like,
should have warned you.
Oh man, I was like, oh man, I think I'm gonna have to break it to him that I'm not gonna like this album.
I think we have to end the podcast.
I think we got to break up as buds.
This is the death of earbuds. No, I realized that I should have warned you when you said like I'm gonna listen to this and walk my dog. Maybe 30 minutes after that, I started listening to it and I was like, oh shit, I forgot it starts this way. I should have warned Brett, because if you at least knew going into it that it was going to start that way, you could at least like mentally prepare for it.
Yeah.
But it literally, and I guess we might as well go into this, but it literally starts with everything starting at once, including the screaming. There's no pretense of an intro to this album at all.
Yeah.
There's no pretense to the intro of a song. Like the song just fucking starts.
Like people have done that before and it's worked out, but this is for any fan of even metalcore, like this is quite a way to start an album. This is quite a way to get into something that you're going to be listening to for the next like 40 something minutes.
Yeah, and metalcore, I'm sure, along with a lot of other types of metal, they usually start out with like an intro track that's like a minute and a half, 2 minutes of just building up tension a little bit. Start like a lot of times, I know a lot of metal bands start their first track is like acoustic guitars and just like bling 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 and a little like, hey, we're kind of bringing you in this mood, we're bringing you, and then that 2 minutes is over, and then it's like and that's where you're like, okay,
there's at least a little foreplay.
Yeah, your ears have been your little ear bean has been flicked a little bit already, so you're kind of wet and ready, you know, for penetration.
But this comes in, growly voice. It's not quite screamo, but he does get into his little gurgly screamo voice later on. And, you know, it's quite a thing. I guess I could see why they made this the single, because the chorus is pretty, like, single-worthy, I guess.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't prepare you for what's going to come on the rest of the album.
No, the rest of the album is way catchier, way easier to bob your head to. It's metalcore. The rest of the album, it's metal music that you can nod your head to and groove to for the most part.
Yeah.
But like At All Cost is one of my favorite metalcore bands of all time, and probably because of like this personal connection that I have to them. But do you like metalcore? Before we like finally get into this, like what kind of, like, that was something that I realized I didn't ask you, and we haven't even talked about it. Like, what is your taste in metal?
I am not a fan of metalcore at all.
Fuck.
But I will just say right now, I did enjoy the album, and you know, this is what I'm looking forward to with this podcast, is listening to stuff I would not usually listen to and forcing myself to really like get deep into the music, listen to it multiple times, give it the attention it deserves, you know, because
try and find an appreciation for it.
If I found this album on my own, I'd probably give it one. I might not even get through the album, and I'd probably throw it away forever. But I got through this album like 3 times. I've listened to this album about 4 times in the last week. And, you know, there's some tracks that I really do like on it. You know, like,
yeah, I think it has a broader appeal than just metalcore.
Yeah. There's some, like, there's a lot of auto-tune.
Which was a first for me in a metal album.
Well, it's a little bit scene, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
like,
yeah.
The first band I was reminded of was Attack Attack.
100%. And that was the first band of, because Attack I would say he was even a little heavier than At All Cost. I think they're more of like breakbeat type. They're more deathcore that has like auto-tuned, really high-pitched auto-tuned vocals and a lot of synthesizer put on it. But I want to say that this album was a precursor before any of that shit. I don't know when Attack like started getting big. I probably didn't hear them until like 2009 or 10. And this album came out 3 years before that. I had never heard auto-tune on a rock record ever. And auto-tune used to be a dirty fucking word for me. And when I heard this, I was like, what the fuck? I don't like this. And then I listened to it more and I was like, this is awesome.
It used to have such a negative connotation because people thought it was an easy way to make bad vocals good. But that's not what it is at all.
No, I mean, I think T-Pain was getting kind of big at that time. 2007, 2008 also.
Yeah, but he was using it as an effect. T-Pain can actually sing, and
he's an incredible singer.
You can't be a bad singer and sing with autotune, or else it's going to sound horrible.
Yeah, but my exposure to autotune was pop music. So when I heard it in this, it was egregious.
People get it confused for like pitch shifting and like vocal correcting.
You hear autotune, you go, do you believe love after all? A fucking great song, by the way. I love that song.
I think it's just fine.
I love that song, but I hated autotune, and I kind of still do. But yeah, when you listen to like Blink-182, you can hear that they're pitch shifting or that they're tuning Tom's vocals and Mark's vocals. And once I started being able to hear that, it ruined a lot of music for me because I started hearing it, and especially pop music, but a lot of like popular rock music. And I'm like, dude, I can tell they didn't hit that note. You can tell there's something off. But this on Circle of Demons, the whole album, he uses autotune a lot on his singing vocals. on the clean vocals. And aesthetically, it adds a lot to the music. Like, it adds a really cool layer on top of, like, now we have the singy part, you know, like you do on a lot of metalcore. Like, now we get to sing during the chorus.
Yeah.
But adding auto-tune to it makes it an aesthetic. It makes it a choice. It's a really interesting choice.
And I think they're a lot more complex with where they put the clean vocals and where they put the dirty vocals. It's not just like verse is dirty, chorus is clean. They mix it in a lot of different places. So it's not so formulaic.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's not like, oh, now we have our auto-tuned chorus. It's not always the chorus.
Yeah.
It's not always auto-tuned. It's not, you know, it felt like a choice. Every time they use it, it felt like this is a conscious choice that they're making, that like, this is going to add more to this part.
Yeah.
And it took a long time for it to grow on me, despite how much I love the music. It took a long time for that auto-tune vocals to grow on me. And once they did, I was like, they're the only ones that can pull this off. I liked Attack, you know, and there's a few other bands that did it. I liked them for what they were doing. But after a few songs, I can't listen to it anymore. And I can listen to this album repeatedly.
I think even my first time listening to this album, I had to laugh to myself, right?
Why? Because you were like, why am I loving this so much?
Yeah, that's why. It was because the first song, Circle of Demons, has no auto-tune. It's just screamo, like very, you know, punky, hardcore metal song. And then the next song, Get Down for the Revolution, brings in that synth, that kind of low quality synth. And then that's the first song the auto-tune lyrics come in. And it's like, oh, I didn't know this was a part of the band.
Right.
And
yeah,
it's a little silly.
Guard.
It sounds a little silly, but the more I listened to it, the more I got past that initial reaction, and I started really enjoying it.
Man, yeah, we for the listeners too, like one thing that we did, me and Brett, was we created a sort of listening party to where we were both listening to this at the same time in our own respective homes, but we were like kind of texting throughout and reacting to certain things. And that, I was so worried going into this that I was like, man, I did not think 4 episodes in we were finally going to get to an album that one of us doesn't like. Like, I thought it was going to take way longer.
Is that why you wanted to do the listening party, to kind of like see what my thoughts on it?
I was gauging you a little bit. Yeah. Cause I was telling my girlfriend, I'm like, man, I think I picked an album that was too challenging for someone who, you know, we haven't even answered your question, for someone who might not even like metalcore. So you don't like metalcore, but what metal do you like? Real quick.
I mean, I can't say I don't like metalcore just because I really haven't listened to much of it. I'm usually lead towards the punk side of things. I do like metal. This is very basic, but I kind of like classic metal, like Iron Maiden and Metallica.
Yep. Judas Priest, right?
Judas Priest. And I'd get more into metal, I guess, if someone recommended stuff to me. But just getting into it, like, even on this album, I hate the like sweeping guitar thing. Man. Sorry, man. It's just ugh.
By the way, arpeggios.
Is that what those are?
I think so.
It's not like a sweeping guitar.
I think that's what sweeps are, right?
I think so. And that only happened.
Doing arpeggios on your guitar.
That didn't happen too many times in the album in the first place. But it's stuff like that. It's like the machismo of metal. Like, I tried to listen to Avenged Sevenfold a couple days ago, and maybe I listened to the wrong album. It was the white one with the black skull on it.
Oh, dude.
I guess I listened to the wrong one.
There's only 2 Avenged Sevenfold albums that are worth listening to, and you listened to one. I think you listened to did the one that you listened to had Almost Easy on it?
Yeah, that was the second song.
That's a good song, honestly, but no. The albums, the 2 before that one, I think are what you need to listen to like really get why I love Avenged Sevenfold.
Okay.
Do you like the breakdowns in metal?
Not usually. I just
That's
feel
one of
like
my
I've
favorite things
heard it
about
all. Which is
Yeah,
why I
very
love
rarely
this
do
album.
you hear. Yeah.
Which is why I think I would like this album more than other metalcore and metal albums, because like in the first song, they take these breakdowns and these bridges and they just go wherever they want with it. I think it's their favorite part of each song are these bridges and these breakdowns.
I think you're right. You can tell that they're having a lot of fun on those parts.
Like on this first one, it's like you got a kind of offbeat, funky thing in there, but it still goes
like a southern
hard.
metal.
Yeah, I thought that was great, and there were a couple, it wasn't usually the usual just
Right.
Just
With the going in the background.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, this album I don't think has what you would call a traditional breakdown that you would normally hear in metalcore. They had a lot of fun with these, and especially with the rhythms.
Yeah. I think the second song might be one of the only ones that have one of those kind of more traditional breakdowns. I could be remembering wrong, but
I think you're right. I mean, we can start getting into it. I think, but yeah, to go back into, so it's good to know about what kind of metal you like, because now I can know what kind of metal to suggest for an episode. Because if you're looking for suggestions, I can think of metalcore and metal that I like that you might not have heard or might not be into, and we can get into it. I wanted to do the listening party with you because I wanted to gauge what you were thinking, because I thought, oh no, 4 episodes in, I already introduced an album that one of us doesn't like. But also, it was really awesome to see some of the feedback that you were sending me, like through text messages. You were like, oh, the transitions, and oh man, like what is this? Is this like medieval? Is this a classical, like middle age shit, or and I thought it was really cool to like see your reactions kind of live. And also knowing that this wasn't your first time listening to it, like that was your second time, right?
Yeah, it was my second time listening to your version of the album.
Right. So that was technically your third time hearing some of these songs.
Yeah.
And was that when it finally started kind of...
I think the second time around, when I got past that initial, first layer of my understanding of this stuff, I think the second time around I grew an appreciation for some of the stuff. And then on our viewing party, I actually picked out some songs that I genuinely enjoy, and might like put on my little singles playlist on YouTube Music.
Nice.
And we'll get to those.
Well, we're gonna get into it right fucking now, bud. So, first song opens with the title track, the single, and the first song on the album, called Circle of Demons. And literally, not even a half second in, the dude's already screaming in your ears. You have a thrashy fucking verse, just drums going taka 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 taka.
Yeah, it's like, very thrash intro.
And they get to the chorus within 20 seconds. Like it is one of the craziest opening tracks I've ever heard. Like right off the bat, the guy is screaming "kill, kill" in your fucking ears. You called out that you didn't necessarily like the lyrics a lot on this album, and I loved the lyrics on this album.
Really?
Like the opening two lines, "Kill, kill, then you drill for our tanks just to fill and blind to deceive. And all this blackness is just white lies and red in streets." This album came out at the height of the war on terrorism and us being in Iraq. And that's what all this is about. That's what this whole album's about.
Yeah. I figured that it's basically about that era of time.
Yeah. It's a very zeitgeist album. Like in 2007, what were metalheads, politically aware metalheads, talking about and singing about? And it's 100% this.
Yeah.
And this song is so fucking angry. And it definitely stands out from the whole rest of the record for the angriest song probably on the record and the thrashiest and the most chaotic.
It's I don't know if I'd put it as most chaotic yet.
Maybe it's because it's an intro song. And to me, I'm like, this is just so like, it's so all over the place. And it's just, it is like the part where they're like, like the drums are going off and they're just like, that's when the guitar's doing the little sweepy thing. And I'm just like, dude, this is so like, so much to take in. It's like an attack on the senses.
It really is.
And there's also like little synth mixed in there, and it's mixed in so well you don't even really notice it that much.
Is it? So I was thinking like I don't really remember too much synth aside from the second song, but there must be more in there.
Yeah, some of the songs the synth is a lot more front and center. This one was like blended in really, really well. That's one thing that like this was another one that I thought like I wasn't gonna get a tone bone listening to this. Because I remember back in the day having to really adjust the EQ on my radio because it was so high end, like treble heavy, and like not nearly enough bass on this. And honestly, like I always listen to Spotify with EQ turned on, and it's always turned on to the rock EQ. And that made this just so juicy for me to listen to on really good over-the-ear headphones. It was just like, even that first song, I'm just like, it's weird that you're playing this abrasive, thrashy song, and it sounds so warm in my ear.
I will say that we talked about this in episode 3 with Pup, The Dream Is Over. I would say I can definitely hear the bass a lot more clearly in this album. You know, like I can definitely pick it out much more. I'd say it's warmer than the Pup album.
I think you're 100% right, because when I listened to the Pup album, I had that EQ turned on and it didn't do enough.
Yeah.
I think I changed the EQ from rock to hip hop to get more bass out of Pup.
But I'd say production wise, I didn't really notice anything one way or the other with the tone. You know, I was kind of neutral about it, as I am with like most albums.
Yeah, I'm pretty neutral too. I there were moments on this album that I got a turgid tone bone.
I'm excited to hear about those.
Oh, buddy.
And what you had to do to get that thing down.
I had to like take a cold shower, smoke a cigarette, had to eat some like really funky tasting food, just distract myself.
Right.
I had to think about baseball a lot.
Oh yeah.
But that honestly made it worse.
Because you're so horny for baseball.
Yeah.
I feel like that wasn't the right way to go.
No, and then I started thinking like, all right, just dudes with their shirts off, and then it still didn't go away.
It's like you're trying to sabotage yourself, dude.
Honestly, like, when am I not? But that was, I think this is such a challenging way to start an album. And anyone who's going to listen to this record after hearing this episode or before you listen to this episode, this is our warning. If we haven't already said it 3 or 4 times, you will have to get through this song to get into the more groovy metalcore stuff that comes after it.
Yeah,
because it gets catchier, it gets more fun to listen to, and dare I say, it gets danceable at times. If I dare say,
I mean, look, you're saying it already, so I guess you do dare to say.
I dare. I think legitimately there were times where like I was like fucking headbanging, like listening to it, and then there were times where I was legitimately like kind of boop bopping around my apartment, just like, this is so fun. Like this for a metal album, like this is way too fun. I'm really enjoying it, despite again like kind of how fun Pup was, despite how heavy the lyrics are. And the lyrics on this are just like to move on to the next song really quick, but before we move on, like in Circle of Demons, I love his little wordplay that he does where he says in the chorus like, the money will control, you know that line, The money will control.
In a sense.
In sense. Yeah, so in a sense, and then in a sense, and then in cents like dollars and cents.
Yeah.
So cool. Like this is probably one of my first times I ever sat down with like the lyrics and followed along with what he was saying, because a lot of times I'm just like listening, I'm like
yeah.
like I don't care what he's saying half the time, it's just fucking cool sounding to me. And then I sat down and I'm just like, dude, his lyrics are incredible on this album. And it's I understand why you might not like them as much as I do, but stuff like that, like, real quick, I feel like I'm going to say that's so fucking metal like way too many times in this episode.
Do you want to like give a basis for what that means real quick? Is that what you're trying to do?
When it gets brutal, oh my god, it's so brutal.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I don't want to say that's so metal, because I feel like I'm just going to repeat it so often. So instead of that, I'm going to say that's so Raven from now on for the rest of the episode.
All right, I like that. Switch it up.
Yeah, I mean, because fucking Raven Simone's pretty metal herself. So taking from the severed hand of innocence, because everyone that's here is damned. That's so goddamn Raven.
That's so. Love it. I'll start saying that too.
I feel like we're going to say it a lot now.
That's fine. I think that I don't think anyone's going to complain about that.
It is very Raven. It's such, all the lyrics are so heavy-handed. There's from the first second that this album starts, the subtlety is out the window. The pretense of like, we're gonna ease you in real nice and slow. Like, that ain't happening, baby. But I do love how Circle of Demons goes perfectly into the second song, Get Down with the Revolution. Seamless. Like, and I will say, I feel like this is going to be said a lot on this, throughout this album too, is all the songs just start. We're blanket statement.
They just go for it. Usually the vocalist is there too.
He's on all the songs. There is no intro to any song.
They might not know how to do an intro.
They might not, or they might just say like, fuck intros. This isn't this is a protest record. So like, what are we going to make this all pretty and fucking easy for you to listen to? Like, no, I have a lot of shit to say and we're going to just get started. It's like whenever we played live shows and I was just like, I don't want to introduce ourselves. Can we just start playing music? Like, hi, we're Mortalis. We're from Austin. Like, no, like, let's just start. Like, there's no,
the sound guy gave us a thumbs up and we would just go for it.
And people, a lot of times, were pretty confused.
But eventually they would figure out that, yes, we were a band playing music.
Yeah, we were supposed to be up there. They would eventually figure that out. They're like, did these guys just gotta take over the stage? But yeah, I love how it just goes right into the Get Down with the Revolution. I mean, blanket statement for every song. It is just balls to the wall from the start. Yeah. But this one has a lot more of a punk vibe.
Yeah, it starts off with that very kind of lo-fi, very techno sounding synth, that tells you, something's all right. Maybe my expectations are going to be shattered a little bit throughout this album.
Yeah, exactly. I think like they're keeping the punk thing going from the first track from Circle of Demons, but it's already there. It already has way more groove than the first song.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's a little more metal than punk. Just because it has that
Yeah.
Like it has a little bit of that groove in there. But they incorporate punk and metal into all their stuff. So saying one is more prominent than the other isn't a statement that'll be consistent like throughout even the entirety of one song.
Yeah, and it's they literally are clashing and fucking like a head-on collision of punk rock and metal.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking cool. I fucking love this song. I love Get Down with the Revolution. This is the first one that like that auto-tune is like really in your face when he's singing. I love it.
Comes out of nowhere.
It's that's what I mean. Like, this band isn't trying to prepare you for anything. Like, there's no warning about what you're about to hear. It is just like, it is so unapologetic. And like I said, like there's no pretense. They're not trying to, like, it doesn't sound like they're trying to, they're like, this is what you're going to hear. And this is like, we're not going to, they don't let up at all.
Yeah, no, they don't pull any punches.
At all, man. And it's like, there's some really good double bass in this, like during the bridge, like breakdown part. I love the breakdown too, man.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely more a traditional metal breakdown than most of the other breakdowns on this album, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it works out well.
See, I don't even know if this is a traditional breakdown, because you have like the toms going, you know, and it's like, and then you have like the way that they started with like that kind of classic metal, that where it starts, but then they echo it to go along with the it's so grooving, man. So grooving. And I love that bass part in the bridge, the where it like slides down and it just like rumbles a little bit. And the harmonized guitars during that whole part too. It's very like, reminds me of like Death Clock. Like, what kind of metal would you call Death Clock? That's metalcore, right?
Death metal? I mean, from what I remember,
deathcore?
Like, all I remember from Death Clock is just and a constant double kick. And that, like, it's been years since I've actually like seen Metalocalypse. Is that what the show was called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to love that show.
I thought it was so funny, dude.
Yeah,
and
as a fan of metal, like it's kind of hard not to like that show. They make fun of it so well.
Like the episode where they like go to the Louisiana swamps or something, and the dude's trying to teach them how to play blues music.
Yeah, the old black man is trying to play the Norwegian
and they, like,
guitarist how to play blues.
They only know how to do like hammer-ons and like pull-offs and stuff.
It's so fucking funny, man. Yeah, I think Get Down with the Revolution would have been a way better opener for this album. It would have set the tone a lot more for the album rather than Circle of Demons.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think in no case were we going to get an intro that kind of started off a little more subtly, I guess. Like, it was always going to come out with a bang. And
yeah, it doesn't matter what song you put first. The singer is starting right off the bat. Everything's starting right off the bat. There's no There's no lead in.
This song might have turned people off for a different reason. Is maybe they hear that synth and they'd think like, oh, this is going to be like techno metal core scene, blood on the dance floor stuff.
Honestly, I think for metalheads, Circle of Demons is a way better opener than this one.
Oh yeah,
but I think for the general audience, Get Down the Revolution, or really any other song on the record, is a better opener. And the band, it's like you're kind of like jumping into the middle of a conversation with these songs. We're just jumping into the middle of the song. The song's already been playing. Is what it feels like.
It's like they wrote these songs and they were like, all right, we have to like cut one part out of each song. And for this one, they're like, I guess we can cut out like the first verse, just go straight into the chorus.
That's what these songs feel like. It's just like, oh, we were playing the first half of this song silently, so you're just kind of jumping into the first chorus now. But this one, like, this one has like a very sing-songy chorus, and the verses are so like,
yeah,
just like and his like growly vocals. I used to think that his scream was like so one note, and now I'm like going back, I'm like, dude, he can growl, he can screech, he can kind of do.
He's got a lot of screamo range, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I was wondering if this was the same singer doing all these vocals.
I want to say it is. I think when I saw them live, like he was screaming and singing. But you know, sometimes live, like the guitarist or the drummer or something will step in to do a scream, so the guy doesn't have to stop singing or whatever. Like, I'm sure live they did it a little differently, but I'm pretty sure it's the same guy.
Well, I was wondering if maybe the clean vocals that weren't auto-tuned might have been one of the guitarists or something.
Possibly. It always sounds like the same person to me, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, white people all sound the same.
That's true. Yeah. I can't tell the difference. I thought you were the singer about all costs for a little bit there.
I thought it was too.
I was like, is this
I called up the guys and they were like, "You're not in this band." I'm like, right.
You're like, I think I am. I hear myself.
I'm pretty sure. Like, I know I don't remember the lyrics or the melodies or anything.
I know I don't like the lyrics I wrote, but I'm pretty sure this is my band. And this is another band also, like, continuing the fucking trend. 3-minute songs, no longer than 3 or 4 minutes. Fucking no bullshit on any of these songs except the closer, and the closer literally has just bullshit added onto it. It's not bullshit because I like it, but it's the only reason the last song is longer than 3 minutes is because they added a 4-minute weird outro.
Yeah. There's gonna be one day when we're gonna get to like the hour-long album that we're both trudging through, you know. But
yeah.
it's not today.
No, I don't. I don't know if we're. I think it's gonna take us a long time to get there, especially because we both connected on how much we hate when an album is longer than 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, like there are exceptions, but like, you know, short and sweet, cut to fat, you know.
Yeah, this one's very short and sweet, and it has that. I love, like, I couldn't think of another way to put it, like that his little witchy delivery before the bridge, where he's like, it almost sounds like he's going like, boil, toil, or like toil and trouble or whatever. Like he's going like,
well, yeah.
It's like he's like doing like an incantation.
That combined with the guitars just doing these weird, I don't even know if these scales are like in the key of the song.
I don't even know either.
But those two things combined,
they are.
It did sound like some kind of incantation for, like, I don't know, a pentagram summoning demon or something.
Yeah, it sounds like he's like, yeah, like kind of like waving his hands over a big cauldron, and he's just like, like just fucking. Then he starts screaming. I'm like, oh my god! It's like it could be so cheesy and goofy, but they do it so well. Like it doesn't turn me off at all.
It's riding that line, but it's never like. I think there is one song that was like pretty cheesy, but the amount of times they could have, this whole album could have just been Swiss, you know. But they do it well.
Yeah, it definitely could have been really cheeseball, and they pull it off. Like you can tell, it's hard for me to get into an album where it doesn't sound like the musicians are playing with like enthusiasm, and you can hear like. You can listen to a thrash album that is just energy to the max, but you might not feel the enthusiasm coming from it. And this album has the energy and the enthusiasm. You can tell that A, they love these fucking songs, and B, they truly believe in what they're saying in these songs.
Right.
And that enthusiasm is just like, dude, like they were getting a message across. I mean, this song is called The Message.
I mean, yeah.
And you can hear that enthusiasm, and I think it's like contagious. That's why that witchy incantation part to me is just like that could, if you didn't believe in that, you wouldn't feel cool doing it, and it would sound lame. But he felt cool. I can hear it in his voice. He thinks this is fucking cool, and he's right. God damn it, he's right.
He's right because of how confident he was that he was right.
That's kind of all it takes, right?
And
if you're confident, people will believe you.
It's I don't know how they were able to fit 4 choruses in this 3-minute long song.
It's because the verses are like 4 lines.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, yeah, and I love the lyrics though. Like, I bow to no one who stands for bullshit. I'm the one who stands up as you sit. And I noticed that he says these words, apocalyptic and forever cryptic. And he uses that in several songs on this album.
I mean,
maybe that's a through line of the theme.
That's metal, baby.
That's Raven. That's so Raven. Apocalyptic and forever cryptic.
It's Raven, man. Apocalyptic, blood, death. You know,
a circle of
cryptic. Circle. I mean, if Circle of Demons didn't get it across already.
But Let It Rain, song after this, and again, I'm not going to say it just starts because it just starts. This one had a really great like southern metal-y riff in the beginning.
It almost kind of sounds like a Metallica.
Yeah,
and his like vocal delivery as well.
Yeah, he's not really screaming. He's doing more like what James Hetfield does, where he's just like talking really loudly.
But this is one of my favorite songs on the album.
Yeah, this is a good one, man.
I really love that chorus. You fucking snake.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's very catchy.
But then those verses go hard as well.
Yeah, and I love that they switch up the tempo of the chorus and the verse. Like they don't perfectly go well together, and they somehow like make it cohesive.
I think they do have to do a little transition between, those parts to kind of like, all right, and now we're going over here.
Yeah, the drums kind of set it up. The guitars will ring out, and then you'll have the drums go, and then they'll go into the next thing, and you're just like, that they do have to kind of like, they do kind of have to create a little.
They got to do something. Yeah.
But that just that shows you, man, like they must have taken forever to write these songs. Not maybe taken forever, but they worked on them a lot. These songs are like, there's no filler in any of these songs.
There's no filler, but there are so many different parts.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Just the amount of time they made and reworked and rearranged and remade parts for these songs. It must have been quite a task.
Yeah, man. The solo on this song, it's almost like a noise solo, and it's very chaotic, but it fits perfectly in there. And yeah, you really can't tell like listening to this. It might be a 4-minute long song, but there are 3 or 4 distinct parts in it, and sometimes each of those distinct parts have their own tempo.
Well, I think it's all the same tempo, but I think it's like different moods, like different feels on that tempo. Yeah, but like,
tell me what I'm trying to say, Brett, please. Let me sit back and you can tell me what I'm trying to say. Jesus fucking Christ.
No, you know what? No, fine. Okay, you were saying the right.
No. Just it's the Brett show. Just go ahead.
They do change tempo at the end when they go into that weird, just that solo, that whole solo outro.
Yeah, that weird little psychedelic solo outro, which I couldn't tell if it was in a major key or a minor key.
Speaking of solos, there's a surprising lack of solos on this album.
Yeah, I love that. That was one of the things I hated about metal.
Yeah, I love that as well.
That's one of the things that turned me off of metal was needing a solo on every song. I was just like, dude, it's just musical masturbation.
It's just an excuse for the guitarist to like, hey guys, look what I could do.
Yeah. And like there are iconic solos in like metal and rock music, but that was like one of the main things that I disliked about metal before I finally could get into it when I was like 18 or 19 was the solos. I fucking don't care. I don't want to sit and listen to a 1.5-minute solo on every song. It has to be on every song.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, is that it would be every single song would have a solo, or else maybe some metal fanboys would complain or something.
And but yeah, there are very few solos on this record. I think that is a positive also.
Yeah,
and I don't necessarily like this outro.
The more I listened to it, the more I kind of started disliking the tone of the lead guitar on this part.
There's like phaser on it or something. That is not so Raven.
Faded.
Yeah, that is not so Raven at all. That tone. Or maybe it's too Raven, and that's why I don't like it.
And I thought it was also interesting that it sounds like they have some like electronic drums on this outro.
Yeah.
I don't know just that snare.
Maybe they're just programmed. Because they do use some electronic, like some kind of drum machine drums throughout this album at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just didn't like that outro very much. But I do love, because again, it brought the energy down for me. But the end of the outro with the airplane sound of like, it sounds like an airplane engine.
Yeah.
revving up. It's such a great way to like ramp up the energy again for the next song.
And it makes sense, called Ride Through the Storm.
Ride Through the
kind
Storm.
of an airplane, going through the air.
How scary is it that this is way more relevant now than it was in 2007?
I was thinking about that listening to this album. It's like we're listening to all these old albums, all these protest albums that are maybe even more topical today than they ever were. And it just shows that we never did anything back then to combat this very steady conversion of power. Going from the people to a very, very rich and powerful selected few, if we ever had any of that power to begin with. And this 2020 and 2021, this raid on the Capitol is kind of this culmination of this system finally showing its true face, showing that it's doing much more for the selected few than it is for the mass citizens of this nation.
Yeah, it's weird that you have an entire nation that feels disenfranchised, but for completely different reasons. Like and it's something that like, oh, we need to nip this in the bud. This shit has been going on for a long fucking time.
We're far past the point of nipping it in the bud.
Yeah, but it's like this song is so well written where it's a conversation between what I'm guessing is the president or whoever's in charge, the man, and the general public. Like, it is so fucking cool how they wrote this song and how the singer takes on, like you said, like this disgusting growl that when he's speaking as the man, and he's saying, "Good day, my American swine. It's me, your great divine. Well, thanks for all of your blind faith. Your rights are mine to take." And again, this is another, like, the message is fucking clear, but it can so easily be misconstrued listening to it now.
I mean, I think I did like the lyrics to this one. The ignorance of your contempt, and your contempt for figurements have blessed these years of war. So I'll proceed to feed the need of my dear friends who feed on greed while holding down the poor. It's like, yep, that's about it.
That could it be put more succinctly and just so on point, so well said.
Yeah,
and he's speaking from that perspective, which is like so creepy and just perfect. And the beat is so good. Just that military fucking driving beat.
Even when it gets out of that marching snare, and it gets into the kind of the more traditional music they've been playing, it's still a very marching beat. That double kick is still doing the same pattern.
And the strings in the background playing the riff along with the guitars.
Yeah.
It's so theatrical, man. I can picture this like being on a stage, where the guy is like speaking from the podium and then the audience is speaking back. And like when the American public or is speaking back, the rhythm is totally different, right? It's like more punky, and he's singing, and it's almost it's catchy, but it's just like you can't help but just be like that like that's just like that is just such a great representation of just like oppression, man. And it's so well done. And like the Americans, or the regular people coming back, we won't give in to this. You've got to go. The youth is fed up.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh yeah, the American youth, a left-wing self-righteous proof that dissonance just divides. Your movement fades out and dies, leaving you with yours truly. So just give up. You're out of luck. Give up your fight. Give up your rights to me. Give me your soul." It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. And guess what? that's what's been happening. That's how we got to this point.
Yeah. It's happening now more than ever. Because at least back then, the politicians were quiet about what they're doing. Now it's obvious what they're doing, and they're just speaking out again, like about it. They're just like, "Yep, this has been our thing the whole time."
Yeah, and like we're kind of subdued, and the youth of 2007 is grown up, and they're adults, and they, not much was done really, like, to change this system that we're under.
Yeah, and it's like we always catch on late, right? Like we don't do anything until we have to.
Yeah. It like is if they're able to keep us content, then we're not going to fight for it. Something has to be blatantly wrong, blatantly in our face,
affecting us personally.
Yeah, and for me, as a person who grew up in a middle class family, like I never knew the real hardships of, the people who this system really targeted, as a white person as well as
Right.
someone who is not a minority. So it's only recently through, seeing all this stuff through the BLM protests, through Twitter, and the news you get through Twitter, I'm finally being educated about all this stuff that's going on and all this stuff that I was blind to before.
Yeah, it's like just because you didn't know that it was happening doesn't mean that it's a lie to make you feel shitty about yourself. And a lot of people are getting so defensive. There's no such thing as white privilege. It's just like, well, of course you would never know because you don't know what it's like to not have it.
Yeah. Right.
Like now that white people are being treated as they perceive lesser than, they can't wait to fucking rise up. How dare you treat me lesser than?
Well, it's these people that have had this crap, I forgot the word, but they've had this privilege for so long, and it's not even, their privileges aren't really even being taken away, but they're seeing we're trying to move on to all people getting these kind of privileges, not having to be followed in a shopping store because someone thinks you're stealing, not getting pulled over by the cops for no reason.
Right.
That they're kind of it's against.
Yeah. It's and then we see like how, I mean, fuck it, I'll call them terrorists that attacked the Capitol building. Like,
yeah,
they killed a fucking cop. And that just goes to kind of show you, like,
yeah,
I guess Blue Lives Matter really meant Black Lives don't.
Yeah,
because
it was only ever
matter, yeah, it was Blue Lives mattered until they didn't agree with you anymore.
And people still had Blue Lives Matter flags at the protest, storming the Capitol, storming through guards, killing a policeman with a fire extinguisher, just charging through all these authority figures to get into the Capitol.
Hitting another policeman with an American flag pole. Could that be any more fucking poetic?
It was never in solidarity with the police. It was just a movement to stop the BLM movement.
100%. And they don't see the irony in that.
They don't. So, I mean, so many things just about that day have come up, like these pictures of people climbing over the wall to get into the Capitol, right? The picture of someone walking with a Confederate flag through the Capitol of the United States. It's just it's in your face.
Yeah.
It's right in your face.
And it's all these politicians and all these policymakers and all these people that have been pushing these people to their fucking edge. But I think we're gonna see a lot more come out over the next few weeks or months about what was really happening there. And I think we're all gonna realize how much worse it could have been. Like, for real.
I only just a couple days ago I saw a video of, one of the news channels showed some video that we hadn't seen before. Apparently instead of there being one death, which was a woman that got shot, there were two deaths, and there was a cop, and then there were 5 deaths. Mm-hmm. And the numbers are kind of going up, and you see these videos of people just pushing against the security guards of the Capitol.
The heave-ho video?
Yeah, the heave-ho, and that guy just crying out in pain.
Help me. A cop?
Yeah.
Bleeding from his mouth, screaming "help me," and people are just looking at him.
And it's just in the way the media kind of they're already trying to put this event in the past, and they were trying to soften the blow, like, well, they got in, but no damage was done. No one was,
it was mostly
nothing
peaceful.
too bad happened. It was mostly peaceful, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And I think I was watching live, and they did use some tear gas.
Yeah.
But I think that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I fully, truly believe, yeah, there might have been some police there on duty that were allowing it to happen. But I fully believe that, like, mostly what happened is that they were understaffed and they were overrun.
Well, there are multiple videos of police literally opening the gates.
Right, but that can be misconstrued,
in.
Right? That can be, they were told, hey, you have 300 people that are trying to push through these gates. There's 5 of you guys. We're going to have you guys fall back. So, like, it doesn't look good that they look like they were opening the gates, but it's more dangerous for the cops.
It's also videos of the cops
taking
like
selfies,
waving in the protesters to the Capitol.
They think they're fighting a corrupt government. It's really like a textbook case of I don't know what, but I think it's pretty obvious. Like, a psychologist could probably break down what's happening with these people pretty fucking simply.
Well, it's, the followers of Trump, it's basically become a cult by now. They've been indoctrinated to think that everything Trump says is right and everything against Trump is wrong.
Not just wrong, but false.
Yeah, false. And it's even like, if you have a shred of sense, then you have to realize, like, it can't, like, this guy cannot be the end all, the be all end all of everything. These people are just indoctrinated. That's the best way to put it.
That's the best way to put it, because I feel like calling them, like, mentally ill is a little insulting to people who actually are mentally ill, and I think calling them stupid or uneducated is oversimplifying it.
Yeah, I think that's true as well.
It's scary, man, how easily people can be influenced. But, like, we should probably get back to this record because we're almost 2 hours in. Yeah, we'll speed round. Step 1.
I am here with all ears. I am here to understand.
Well, he doesn't sound like Macho Man Randy Savage.
Hey.
I'll tell you, brother Mean Gene.
Hey, you come over to my house, brother. I'll show you a good smackdown.
Oh, yeah, we're going to listen at all costs. Yeah.
Because that's what my screamo voice sounds like.
You sound, dude, I would listen to a metal band that Macho Man Randy Savage is a singer. I'll tell you what, Mean Gene, yeah. I've been watching a lot of classic wrestling.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, brother, I have. And it's so good, brother. I had a guy call me brother while I was walking my dog today, and I felt fucking awesome. The guy went, hey, cute dog. I go, you too. He goes, thanks, brother. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I am, dude. Thank you for noticing.
I am your brother. Yeah, the next song, Leaving Forever, my favorite song.
Really?
Oh, dude, I love the rhythm of the song. I love, again, that it just fucking starts like every other one. And it just starts like a very, like, punky, thrashy intro, and then it'll just, like we've said, just switch up on a dime and just have the drums just go like dun king and click the bell, and then it's like dun, like,
you know when that bell gets hit.
That drop is about to drop, and it's dude, that double
it's such a weird drop with the vocals as well.
They have his kind of like just talking really loudly, kind of James Hetfield delivery. They have his growls, they have his screams, they have the singing, they have the auto-tune, they have the robot voice going. Like, everything's on this one.
Yeah, that they have that breakdown.
Yeah.
With that kind of like trading.
Again, can be so cheesy and lame, but it's so great. And then they have that fucking that. Taken away, like with just the kick drum. Then he goes, like, I just want to fucking headbang so bad. I haven't headbanged it forever. I just got really
This
dizzy.
might have been a good first song on the album.
Yes, dude, for sure. Again, it's hard for me to say like this would be better because there's also no intro, so it's hard to be like, well, this is a better song because at least you get a little bit of like a heads up. But it would be a great intro because it does like this is what you're gonna hear on this whole album, but you're gonna hear it all in this one song.
It kind of gives you a little everything.
Mm-hmm. And that robot voice like legitimately gives me goosebumps when I hear it.
Really?
Yeah, dude, that hair on my neck fucking like stands up and I get
wow.
Yeah, dude. It's so the energy is just it's so contagious on that song.
And then it goes into Eating Lightning.
Yep,
which is one of my other favorite songs on the album.
Yeah, another song that just starts.
I mean, it doesn't need to be said.
Do you like the
Yeah, I didn't even notice that until like my second or third listen.
Oh wow!
The backup vocals are like, ah! Like it makes it very epic. Feeling,
yeah, it is. And again, can be super cheesy, but they do it well. For
sure. And I think this one might be one of my favorite verses. At first, I thought it was kind of whack because of like all he was doing in it, you know, with the harmonies and stuff. But the more I got into it, the more I was like, ooh.
Doesn't this? It's dancey,
like, let's go. It's kind of dancey.
Yeah. And that tom driving beat is so cool in the verses.
And I love the harmonies that come in. I love the backup vocals that come in with it.
Yeah.
And then we're, you know, riders out on the plane. We're eating lightning. We've touched the train. Like, I don't know. We're eating lightning is such a cool line to me.
So Raven.
Even though I have no idea what they're talking about, honestly.
It's like just so fucking Raven. That song, We're Eating Lightning.
It's very Raven.
Super Raven. And they got your tambo, baby. Make it even more dancey.
They got my tambo, baby. They need that tambo.
Even more dancey. Just a tambourine. Like, it's just like, who fucking does that in a metal song?
It oddly enough, it makes it even a little more driving.
Yeah.
You know?
It's perfect, dude. It's so well done. It's like a weird choice, but it's great.
Yeah.
And then you have the arpeggio, the guitars doing arpeggios with like just the vocals going, the group vocals.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And it's like harmony vocals. I love that stuff. I love when it's just like the music cuts out and there's the guitar going, but the harmony vocals and then bam, bam, it goes back into it. I love that kind of stuff.
It's very, to me, that's very punk, punk inspired or something.
Maybe.
That's my interpretation.
Well, you are entitled to it, sir. So there.
Yeah, and that's again like song doesn't really let up ever, and I love the outro, just those weird machinery, robotic sounds going. It's so fucking cool.
And it transitions pretty smoothly into the last song, which is Drugs.
Which is finally a little fucking break.
You know, at the end of the album.
And the fast-paced parts, quote unquote, are like 30 seconds long. And then it goes back to this like dun,
dun, yeah.
Like really fucking plodding, slow. Like it kind of makes me think like they were like after like a minute of that slow part, they're like, all right, enough of that. And then like we gave you all a break, we're bored, and then like let's do thrash real quick and then we'll go back to the thing. And like, but I love like
we don't want to lose everyone.
Yeah. And the song's called Drugs, which is just like it's cool that like the song called Drugs is the one that they finally slow down. But the song like feels, it's like, you know, it made me feel like I was picturing like being marched to your death is what it felt like. It was just like this slow plodding, like it was like you're being marched to your death. So like it feels helpless and hopeless. It's like so slow and like, you know, the guy sounds like helpless, like when he's singing, and his voice is just kind of weak. And then when they get to the thrash parts, it makes me think of like, you realize what's about to happen. So you have those last few moments of like fighting back.
Kind of panicking.
Panicking, realizing what's about to happen. And you haven't fully given in yet. And then you get beat back down and you go slow again. And you're still like, you're like back on the march. And then you fucking try, you know, one more time to like break out of it. And it's just like, nope. And it just like, just made me think like this guy is just like fighting for his life. And then it's done. And the ending is so fucking. I used to really, really not like it, and now listening to it again, I love the ending that has this like marching kind of like drums going on and like a melodica of all things playing. And I'm like, you don't hear melodica on anything nowadays, and it's just like cool that they picked that at the end of the song. It kind of made me think of like bagpipes at a funeral. I'm like, it kind of sounds like bagpipes a little bit. I'm just like, I wonder if that was the vibe they were trying to get at. But yeah, like that secret track, I thought it was a really strange way to end a record. But now when I started thinking like, oh, this kind of makes me think like a bunch of soldiers are like marching off to war and like the band is playing them off. It added a lot to it. Once I put it in a context that I could like it, I'm like, ooh, I like it now.
But then it fades out.
Yeah.
And then there's about a minute and a half left of the track. And it just kind of spirals through all of these different kind of almost wet sounds.
Yeah, like Kid A Radiohead era type electronic percussion stuff.
And it all eventually builds into what you feel is going to be a climax, and then it just cuts off.
Yeah,
and ends the record.
And did you notice that at the very end, it like you said, it kind of sounds like it's ramping up to something, and then you hear very, very faintly the beginning of Circle of Demons start playing.
Are you sure?
Well, it's not the beginning of the song. You hear him go kill, kill at the very end. It's like you can.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked with a little bit, but it's like kill, 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 and then it ends.
Kill.
Yeah, and it's like, oh wow, that's cool that they kind of like circled back a little bit. Yeah, man, I used to not like the ending of that album because of that, because I was like, what a fucking weird long ending to that. But then now I go back and I'm just like, oh, what a perfect way to end that. What a perfect way to like just tie it up with a bow, and it's just like, here's more of our weirdness and something that you didn't hear on the rest of the album, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I mean, even at the very end, they keep you kind of on your toes.
Man, that was and that right there was Circle of Demons by At All Cost.
That's Circle of Demons.
Holy shit, what a record, man. I think for someone who's not a fan of metalcore, I'm glad that you dug it, because I think it is a challenging record for someone who's not really that into that type of metal, and especially not into metalcore.
I'll definitely need to be in a very specific mood if I'm ever going to go back to it again. Yeah.
Dude, just do what you like to do on Tuesday nights. You double fist some Four Locos.
Yeah.
You light a nice scented candle. You get in your little, bubble bath, and you pop on.
I get my little suds on. I get my bath bomb.
Yeah, you get your CBD bath bomb.
Yeah.
Pop on Circle of Demons and just vibe out for 45 minutes.
Yeah. I'm gonna try my next experience. I'm gonna try to play the album over a speaker and be underwater for the whole thing, so I can kind of like, yeah, I feel like that would add, like, for someone who doesn't do drugs, I feel like that might be what it's like to listen to the album while on drugs.
Yeah, it might be the closest thing you get to the experience.
Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna hold my breath for about 45 minutes, and we'll see how it is.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just put the speaker in the water with you.
I think you're right. Yeah. Just get it in there with me.
That way you can feel the sound waves.
The vibrations.
You can vibe
and the waves
with the vibrations.
Well, here's the thing, is that speed moves quicker in water. Or sound moves quicker in water. So sound moves quicker in water, so I feel like the music might go too fast.
Yeah, the thrashy parts are just going to fly right past you.
Like, I'm probably going to be able to listen to the album in 30 minutes.
Wouldn't that be nice?
All right.
Me and Miss Elizabeth will be right there with you listening to it, brother.
Well, let's give our dang ratings on this one.
I will let you go first because this is your first time hearing it.
Okay. So I think this is like a 7.2 to me. It's like a B tier. I enjoyed it. I'm probably not going to go back to it too often. But I think when I do, I'm going to have a really good time.
There were some choice nugs, right? You're not going to go back and listen to the whole album, but there were some choice nugs that you're going to keep listening to.
There were definitely some choice nugs. Crap. It was Eating Lightning Part 3.
Yeah.
And the fourth song, which was Raining, Let It Rain Death, Blizzard of Snakes. Mm-hmm. Those were my two favorite.
Yeah, those were great. I think, I think a 7.2 is honestly better than I thought you were going to give it. Like, I was genuinely, like, you were worried I wasn't going to like Pup. I was 60-40 thinking you were going to like this. I'm like, 60% I think you're going to dig this. And then a pretty fair percentage that I'm like, I have no idea what kind of rock music you like outside of, like what we play together. So I'm just like, fuck, man, I might have fucking screwed the pooch on this one.
I think with metal in general, honestly, I think there's a good 75% chance I'm not going to like something.
I think it's the same with me, to be honest. I'm really
Really?
I'm really, really picky with metal music. I'm starting to kind of open up a little bit. I'm starting to really like thrash a lot lately. But I'm really picky with metal music, which is why I didn't listen to it for a long time. And then kind of Kill Switch is what got me into metalcore. And then from there, I found a whole bunch of other bands. So Kill Switch might be a great album for us to listen to at some point on an episode. There's definitely two of theirs that I would think are almost masterpieces for metalcore. Well, what comes to my mind when I think about metal is what I would rate this album.
And, well, what would that be?
Let's finish that segment first.
Maybe I don't care about your rating for this.
You clearly don't.
You ever thought of that?
You clearly don't, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
All right.
My rating for this album would be an 8.6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I really, really loved it. I think the only reason it didn't get a 9 or higher is because there are a couple of songs that it's not that I dislike, but I think they're kind of weaker among the other stuff. I think some of it, so much of it is so strong, the material. And there's a couple of ones that I'm just like, man, y'all cut really great songs. I would love to hear those compared to the one or two that I don't really like on this album. Like Step 1 is probably the weakest one on the album. And then next to that, I can't even recall like another one that I think is like a little like just kind of didn't really grab me as much. But yeah, I would give this an 8.6. This is such a solid fucking metalcore album, and honestly one of my favorites. And it's a band that no one really knows. And so I hope more people listen to it after this episode because they deserve some listens, man. This is an album worth listening to. If you like thrash, if you like metalcore, if you like punk, chances are you might like this.
It's very Raven.
It's so fucking Raven. If you mess with the EQ a little bit, you'll get a tone bone. You'll be turgid. And you'll have to think about baseball players to get rid of it.
I think it's fine enough as it is without an EQ. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
But if you do want to give yourself that little tone bone that you might not always get, go ahead and go Lucas's suggestion.
Little Tony Baloney. Yep. I think it does need a little bit more bass, a little bit more mids to balance it out or anything. But yeah, 8.6. This is a fucking fantastic record. And we forgot again to tell people that they should listen to it before we go into it. So
gosh, can I do it this time?
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to the beginning of the episode. We hope you enjoy your stay. We would just like to tell you before you listen, go ahead and give this album a listen yourself. We have a link in the bio. We have a link in the description where you can check it out. It's Circle of Demons by At All Costs, and it is. Make sure you read the title of the album cover you see. Make sure it's not by a band called Asphyx. It says it says the name.
Yeah.
Listen to it.
Great intro. So we're gonna edit that in, right? We're gonna edit that to the beginning.
We'll take this and we'll put it at the other end there.
Okay, we're getting good at that. We're good at editing.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And Lucas, what? No, you what? What?
Oh, go ahead.
What? You know what I think of when I think of baseball players?
Ooh, Bright Light Social Hour?
How'd you know?
Dude, I think of that all the time. I think of Bright Light Social Hour when I'm trying to get a tone bone.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think the same exact thing.
Dude, are we going to talk about them in the next episode? Are we going to listen to one of their albums?
Well, God, Lucas, I just wish there was an album that was named after the band.
Like a self-titled.
Like a self-titled... Do we know if there's something like that out there? Do we know if there's an album called The Bright Light Social Hour?
I highly doubt it, but let's look into it. And if there is, let's talk about it on the next episode.
You know what? That sounds like a great plan to me.
All right. So if that album exists, that's what we'll be talking about.
Awesome. Great. And if not, well, we'll just wing it.
Yeah, we'll probably just talk. That's usually what we do anyway.
Yeah. We just won't listen to any music.
Well, that sounds like a good idea. Bright Light Social Hour, never listened to them. So let's hope that album exists and we can talk about it next week.
Gosh, I'm crossing my fingers.
Me too. I really, really hope that it's a real thing. What would you, before we go, what would you rate this episode?
I think given my previous inexperience with this type of music, my first time listening to this album, listening to this band, listening to any of this type of music at all, honestly, I'm going to give myself an 8.6.
Damn.
I think I'm going to give this episode an 8.7.
Very nice.
It really is. It's the whole is better than the individual parts,
My girlfriend has tried explaining that saying to me so often. And I think I kind of get it. But
maybe we'll figure it out in some episode. What did you think?
This episode, I would say with your inexperience, with how little you listen to this type of music, how this is kind of your first foray into this, and how much I love this album and I love this genre of music, I would give this episode like an 8.7.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I would give your performance more of like a 7.2.
Okay.
But the episode, again, the sum is greater than the parts. I did really well, so I kind of overcorrected.
Yeah. You kind of brought it home for both of us, and I really do appreciate you doing that for us.
I think I did like a 10 to be able to bring a 7.2 up to an 8.7. I think.
10, personally, in my opinion, 10's really, it's the peak of perfection. I don't know if 10 exists. Maybe The Resignation by RX Bandits could be like a 10 out of 10 episode, but
yeah, I don't think it was. This is by far the longest episode we've done. I think this might even be longer than RX Bandits.
Oh boy. I don't know how that happened.
We're gonna keep breaking records, buddy. Stick with me. We're breaking records.
Let's see if we can ever get this format under 2 hours.
Yeah. And with that said, thank you so much for listening, buddies. Thanks for sticking along with us. We will be back next week with Bright Light Social Hour. I think it's self-titled. We'll find out.
We'll figure that out for y'all.
Brett, buddy, this was good.
Lucas, this was
good. All right. Well, let's end this episode in 3, 2, 1.